£3,900. That's the rough value of the extra help sitting behind one single form that most pensioners in this country have never filled in. And it isn't the only money you're leaving on the table. Right now, today, there are 8 household bills that a huge number of UK pensioners are still paying in full, even though the rules say they don't have to. You, your neighbor, maybe someone in your own family, nobody rings you up to tell you this. No letter lands on the mat saying, stop paying this one. The bill just keeps arriving, and because you've paid it for 30 years without question, you keep paying it. Stay with me to the very last point on this list, because it isn't just another bill. It's the one entitlement that quietly unlocks half of everything else I'm about to tell you, and almost nobody claims it. I'm Joan, and I spent years working alongside pension and benefits advisors here in the UK, helping people untangle exactly this kind of thing. Here's the honest truth about why this keeps happening. The DWP and HMRC don't operate on a we'll tell you what you're owed basis. They operate on a you ask, we check basis. If you never ask, the system simply assumes you're happy paying full price. None of what I'm about to cover is new legislation or some announcement made just this month. These are entitlements that have existed for years. What's changed is simply the rates for 2026. And the fact that most people still don't know these rules apply to them. There are 8 of these sitting quietly in plain sight. Let's go through them properly one at a time, and remember, stick around for the last one because that's the one that changes everything else on this list. Let's start with the one that costs people the most, month after month, without them even noticing: your council tax. There are 3 separate ways pensioners can bring this bill down, and most households only ever use one, if that. First, the single person discount. If you're the only adult living in your home, which describes an enormous number of widows and widowers, you are legally entitled to a flat 25% reduction. And here's the part that genuinely upsets me. I have spoken to people who kept paying the full 2-person rate for years after their partner passed away, simply because nobody told the council to update the record. Second, there's the council tax reduction scheme, sometimes still called council tax support. If your income is low, you apply directly to your local council, and depending on your circumstances, your bill can be reduced right down to nothing at all. Third, and this one catches almost everybody off guard, there's a specific exemption for severe mental impairment. If someone in the home has a condition like dementia and receives certain disability or attendance benefits, they can be disregarded entirely for council tax purposes. Nobody from the council is going to knock on your door and offer this. You call them, you ask, and when you do, ask specifically whether the discount can be backdated, because councils frequently owe people a lump sum for previous years on top of the lower bill going forward. But what happens if you're on medication every single week? That's next, and it might be costing you more than you think. If you live in England and you're 60 or over, every NHS prescription you collect is completely free. Every item, every month for the rest of your life. No income test, no forms to send off in advance. The standard charge for anyone who does pay is currently £9.90 per item. If you're on 2 or 3 regular medications, as so many people are, that's close to £30 walking out of your purse every single month for something you were never required to pay. All you do is tick the age exemption box on the back of your prescription form. And here's a detail that catches almost nobody's attention if you've paid by mistake. Within the last 3 months, you can claim every penny back. Ask your pharmacist for Form FP 57 at the exact moment you pay before you leave the counter, because you can't claim it retroactively later. This next one affected free eye care for millions of people, and most of them still pay for it privately without realizing they never had to. If you're 60 or over in England, a full NHS sight test is entirely free at any high street optician, no appointment through your GP required. A private eye examination typically runs around £25 a time, and specialists recommend a full check every 2 years for anyone over 60. If you're also on a low income or certain benefits, you may additionally qualify for an NHS optical voucher that covers a real chunk of the cost of your actual glasses. That support that already exists, fully funded, just waiting for someone to ask for it. Now here's one that stops people going to the dentist altogether because the numbers can look frightening. NHS dental treatment in England runs on 3 price bands. Band 1, your checkup. X-rays, a scale, and polish currently cost £27.90. Band 2, covering fillings and simple extractions, is £76.60. Band 3, for crowns, bridges, and dentures, runs to £332.10 for a single course of treatment. That top figure is exactly the kind of bill that makes people put off the dentist for years. But if you or your partner receive the guarantee element of pension credit, every bit of that right up through band 3 is completely free. Keep that fact in the back of your mind, because pension credit is going to come up again, and it's the reason I asked you to stay to the end. If you skip the next one, it could easily cost you £180 a year for nothing. A standard color TV license in the UK now costs £180 annually. If you're 75 or over and you or a partner living with you receive pension credit, your license is entirely free, not discounted, free. And yet there are people well into their 80s who are still paying that full bill every single year, either because they assumed their savings disqualified them, or because they simply never heard the rule had changed back in 2020 to run through pension credit rather than age alone. Let me tell you about Brian. Brian is 76, lives alone since his wife passed, and for years he just paid his bills as they came in the full council tax, the full TV license, prescriptions at the counter when he needed them. He assumed, like a lot of people do, that because he owned his home outright and had a small workplace pension, none of this applied to him. A benefits advisor sat down with him one afternoon and ran the numbers properly. Brian qualified for pension credit, not a huge amount, just under £15 a week, but that £15 a week was the key that unlocked his free TV license, cut his council tax down substantially, and made his dental treatment free going forward. One form. Nothing about his life had actually changed. He'd simply never asked. Almost everyone assumes water bills are fixed and untouchable. They're not. If your home is on a water meter and your usage is unavoidably high because of a medical condition or because several children live under your roof, a scheme called WaterSure caps what you pay, regardless of how much water your household actually uses. And separately from that, nearly every major water company in the country now runs its own social tariff for customers on lower incomes, sometimes cutting the bill by close to half. Your supplier will not switch you onto it automatically. You call them and you ask specifically about WaterSure and about their social tariff. This next one applies to nearly every household in the country, and yet barely anyone checks it. Broadband and Landline social tariffs. If you receive pension credit or certain other low-income benefits, providers are required to offer you a discounted broadband package, typically somewhere between £12 and £20 a month, compared with the £30 or £40 a month that most people are quietly paying for the exact same connection, the same speed, the same reliability. Providers rarely advertise these tariffs to existing customers because there's no incentive for them to volunteer a lower bill. One phone call is genuinely all it takes. Before I get to the final point, one honest word of caution, because it matters. Whenever benefits and refunds become a talking point, scammers use that exact moment to target older people with fake texts, emails, and phone calls asking for bank details. No government department will ever contact you out of the blue demanding your banking information to release a payment. Every single thing on this list only ever happens because you made the call, filled in the real form, or ticked the real box yourself. This is the one I told you to wait for. Pension credit itself. On paper, it simply tops up your weekly income if it falls below a set level for 2026, over 27, that's £238 a week for a single pensioner, and £363.25 a week for a couple. But that weekly top-up is genuinely the smallest part of what it does. The moment you qualify, even if your actual payment works out to just a few pounds a week, it automatically unlocks everything I've just walked you through. Free NHS dental care right up through the top band. A free TV license once you're 75. Council tax reduced, sometimes to nothing. Help toward heating costs through the warm home discount. That's why advisors call it the master key. The direct payment matters far less than the door it opens. Government figures suggest hundreds of thousands of eligible pensioners across the UK are not claiming it. Many, because they checked years ago, were told they were a few pounds over the threshold and never checked again. Thresholds move every year. A household turned down 3 or 4 years ago could easily qualify today with nothing about their life having changed. Don't assume an old answer is still the right one. Use the free pension credit calculator on the gov.uk website or call Age UK or Citizens Advice and let someone run the actual numbers for you, free of charge. So here's where that leaves you. Free prescriptions and eye tests from $60. Dental care, a TV license, and a lower council tax bill once pension credit is in payment. Water bills capped through WaterSure or a social tariff. Broadband cut by half through a social tariff. And pension credit sitting underneath all of it as the one form that opens every other door. None of this is a favor and none of it is charity. It's money you've already paid into through a working life of taxes and national insurance coming back to you when you actually need it. If you know someone who's already retired, a parent, a neighbor, someone at your local club, send them this today. It might be the difference between them paying full price for the next 10 years and not. And if you'd like to know before the next set of rates changes rather than after, hit subscribe now. Because the rules around what you're owed don't stay still for long. And the people who find out first are always the ones who benefit most. I'm Joan. Go make that phone call this week while it's still fresh in your mind.